Hi, welcome to my channel. We're talking about detachment, degrees of attachment. I'm just going to put my book up here for you now, just to let you know all of my books are now available on my website. Okay, what is detachment and how can you accept your attachment to the outcome in the moment, and why would you do that? How would that help you? Okay, first of all, it's how we look at attachment that's half the problem. So we feel some attachment and we look at it like bad. This is bad. I'm attached to the outcome. It's bad. It's going to ruin my manifestation. Well, what if you change the way you react to that? So you change the story around attachment. You go, okay, it's actually quite normal for me to feel a level of attachment to this. It's actually really normal. I really want it, so I'm going to have some attachment. What if I decide that in the moment that my attachment isn't a bad thing, it just is in the moment? I'm not going to label it bad. Take that bad label away from it and say to yourself, it's here at the moment, but it's temporary. As soon as you do that, you will decrease it slightly anyway in the moment when you start to look at it differently, because it is very normal to have a level of attachment to something that you really want. It's how high that attachment is. And I think by labeling something bad and labeling something negative and getting in the way of what we want and a block to what we want, we build that even more within us. So that attachment level actually grows probably from what it was. Whereas if we just say, okay, I get it, I've got some attachment, but it is just temporary. As everything is in life, I allow it to be temporary. It will be. And to be honest, I have manifested something that was really important to me, and I did have a level of attachment. I talk about that in the book actually. And if I had to put a percentage level of attachment on it, I would probably said about 30%. So you don't have to eradicate attachment completely. So if you lighten up on yourself, you will find that it just drops to about that level anyway. So there'll be a little bit there. So here's the difference between complete attachment is when it's in your conscious awareness all of the time that you don't have it. And that is attachment to it. And you look at videos and you read books, and all of the time you're working out how you can manifest this thing, how you can force this thing into your life. That's a very high level of attachment. That's not useful to you. So that, you have to rein that in, and you have to think this thing cannot be more important to me than I am to me, and I want to feel better. So that's the first thing to look at there. Secondly is to accept that you have some attachment at the moment, but it is not going to get in your way. It's not going to stop you, because it is temporary. Every feeling state is temporary if we allow it to be. It's just a natural part of a process. When you really want something, you are going to have a level of attachment to that in the moment, and it's how you react to that level of attachment that's going to keep you there or allow that to decrease to such a level that it isn't going to get in your way. But just accepting that a bit of attachment is normal. Like I said, with this thing that I manifested, there was about 30% attachment. So there's that. And then there's this constant underlying feeling that you have that's quite subtle, but that's, I don't have this. And I've spoken about this before. So you may think you're detached, but you're constantly looking at videos and books, not necessarily just to manifest this thing that you think you've become detached from. You're doing it to manifest other things. But whenever you look at these videos, you go back to that thing that hasn't shown up in your life, that you don't understand, because you don't feel that you're that attached. But every time you do that, you go into a slightly more attached state around it. So every time you refer back to it. But this subtle feeling is just a very, very subtle feeling. And I've described it before to clients. It's like a splinter. It's just like a splinter. It's not huge. It just is there. And you're consciously aware a lot of the time that this thing hasn't shown up in your life. So that is a level of attachment as well. And if you have that, the best way to deal with that is to intend to stop, for it to not be in your conscious awareness for longer and longer periods of time. And the best thing to do is start with like an hour or something. How awesome that I went a whole hour and this was not in my conscious awareness. And then when that happens, you congratulate yourself basically for going that amount of time without it in your conscious awareness. Then you will find that you go longer and longer periods of time. But the key thing here is to lighten up on yourself and not to give this hideous label to attachment like it's the worst thing ever. It's going to get in your way, it's a block, because again, you will feel it and it will become so. So if you just lighten up and go, it is normal, it's absolutely normal. I can knock this down to under 50%, and if I get it to 30%, awesome. How do I do that? By using these techniques, by just not reacting to that attachment as being this awful thing, and just seeing it as a normal part of the manifestation process. So even if you've been manifesting something for a couple of years and nothing's happened, and you think, well, I've had that attachment all of that time, it doesn't matter. You can start from today. Today, if you start feeling differently about attachment today, you can shift instantly, absolutely instantly. It's instant, this stuff. It is not cumulative. So just because you've been attached for 2 years, you don't have to work at being detached for 2 years. And actually, you can't work at being detached anyway. You can't, because when you work at it, you're forcing it, you're trying hard, nothing changes. All you've got to do is accept it for what it is in the moment, but know that it is not this huge monster of a thing that you've maybe made it out to be. It just isn't. It's just nothing until you give it a meaning anyway. Nothing is anything until you apply a meaning to it. So if you change the meaning, then you'll change the way it feels. If you change the way it feels, you'll change your 4D. Eventually you will change your 3D, eventually or instantly. Sometimes it's instant, sometimes it's not so much, but it will change. If you change the way you look at it, it's like anything, you change the way you look at it, it will change. It has to, because you change the feeling about something. As soon as you feel differently about something inside, something different will happen on the outside at some point. But it's the key is here just to lighten up and think, attachment is not the monster that I've made it out to be. It just is, and you can kind of give it a low meaning, if you know what I mean. Even you can do whatever you want with it. It's up to you, you know, it's your life and you can apply whatever meaning you want to something. But if you just decide that actually I can still manifest with some attachment, providing it's not in my conscious awareness 100% of the time. And then people do say to me, but when I'm asleep, it's not in my conscious awareness. Well, we don't really know what's going on when we're asleep, do we? So we can't really say what's going on with things like that when we're asleep because we don't really understand it. So if you just look at your waking hours, as long as it's not in your conscious awareness, 100% of your waking hours, as soon as it starts to go down and it's below 50%, that is going to be where things happen. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you don't know anything about me, I'm an author, manifestation coach and a mindset coach.